Helen Frankenthaler, an artist that was determined to follow her own creative path and eventually be credited with creating a painting technique that's entirely her own, called the soak stain method. The soak stain method used oil paint that was thinned down to the consistency of watercolor paint, then poured onto a canvas stretched out on the floor of her studio. She poured it, she dripped it, and smoothed it, and even tilted the canvas to make the paint run and pool. She's credited to saying, "There are no rules. That is how art is born, how breakthroughs happen. Go against the rules, or ignore the rules. That is where invention is all about." Now, getting started with our own Helen Frankenthaler painting. I thought it'd be kind of fun to begin our painting with a little bit of tissue paper. I categorized our tissue paper into warm color pile and a cool color pile. And just like Helen Frankenthaler, I'm trying some new methods of getting the paper soaked with water. And then once it's soaked with water, dipping the colors of tissue paper onto that water and overlapping once again with more water. So again, it's sandwiched, right? Water, tissue paper, water on top. And now, once I've got my tissue paper, this tissue paper stains the paper that's underneath. By adding this water, eventually it will fall off to give me some creative and interesting colors once the project dries. So let's take a moment, finish our watercolored painting with tissue, and let that dry. Now, once your project is dry, take off all of those dry tissue paper pieces, and on the back side, draw some interesting organic shapes that can be used as the tops of the flowers. Pay no attention to the detail of color on the other side. Just go ahead and cut out those interesting shapes. I even like how there's blobs of white left over. And now on your cool colored piece of paper, cut off a few strips that can be used as stems, as well as leaf shapes for your stems as well. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 3 piles: flowers, leaves, and stems. Now, for our next step, let's take a moment and start arranging. As an artist, start figuring out what composition is going to look the greatest or the best into your picture. Where do you want to place your leaves? Where do you want to place your stems? And where do you want to place your flowers? Do you want some of those items to overlap? I do. I think that creates a very interesting composition. Now, once I've got my colors placed on, I'm also going to glue those down in place now that I've got it kind of arranged where I want. All right, now, lastly, let's take a moment and do a little bit more detail work with my black Sharpie marker. Now, some of your glue might still be a little bit wet or damp, and so try your very best to keep the Sharpie out of the glue. Sometimes glue, once it touches the Sharpie, makes the Sharpies no longer work. And so I'm trying to be very, very careful when I start placing on my Sharpie designs into these organic shapes that will work for my leaves and my flowers. I really like the way this project shows out some of the details into the work. It defines what I've started cutting out. My organic shapes are now starting to come to life with just some of the lines that I've created right on top of those flower shapes or those organic shapes. Really just kind of makes it more interesting to look at. And I really enjoyed the end project as I started applying some of these black lines. Now it's okay to reuse some of the same flower patterns if you want to, or combine some of those. Don't be afraid to add on a few dots if you want to, or whatever your creative juices tell you to add. Just this is your project. Think about an abstract expressionist. They wanted to apply the color into an abstract work and give the viewer a feeling based on its textures and its shapes. I'm going to do the same thing with my work today. I want to create feelings as I continue adding on some of these interesting lines into my work. I love the overlapping. I love the different shades that was created when my colors of tissue paper started to blend and mix together. So unpredictable about what the outcome would be, but how beautiful it turned out. I love this project. I hope you do too. Let's move into some other additional ideas or suggestions that you can do if you want to. As you can see, I've taken some black watered down paint, and in a splatter box, I'm going to go ahead and add on a few dots of black. I also took a white oil pastel just to kind of give it more of a framed-like look into my black construction paper. And so I just wanted to reutilize some of those elements of the dots into this work as well. I love this project and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching, boys and girls. Have a great day.